Ravens Wrap is sponsored by Bud Light, jctickets.net, Geico Insurance, Donaway Furniture, Ocean City Golf Club, RussellStreetReport.com, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Holiday Inn Express, the original Green Turtle, hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
And welcome back. It is the original Green Turtles Ravens Wrap Show right here on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio 93.5 The Beach. We are broadcasting from the infamous Ravens Room at the Blue Ox, 127th Street and Coastal Highway in Ocean City with Ravens Roost 44. Give yourselves a hand. Don't forget, coming up Sunday, 1 o'clock at M&T Bank Stadium, the Ravens hosting the New York Jets. Network pregame on the radio at 12:30. Our show airs at 11 o'clock. And we want to thank our sponsors, of course, at Bud Light, the Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Geico, the Ocean City Golf Club, jctickets.net, the Holiday Inn Express at Northside in Ocean City, Donaway Furniture. Give them a call, 130th Street, Bayside in Ocean City at 410-250-5100. Also, buyatoyota.com, your official site for Toyota deals. Hey, you can like us on Facebook, Ravens Wrap, at the Blue Ox, also ravenswrap.com. Mike Bradley, we've got Tom Moore, we've got Bucksy, we've got Steve Slaza, all a part of the panel this week. We did want to let people know, though, there is not going to be a show next week. We've got Thanksgiving next week, so we are taking the week off for the holiday. And, of course, the Ravens will be hosting the Steelers in back-to-back home games here. The Jets, and then on a short week, they'll be hosting the Steelers. Thursday Night Football, Thanksgiving, it ought to be great. It doesn't get any better than that with Ravens Steelers, so looking forward to that. But first things first, the Jets, and we'll talk about that upcoming. At this point in the show, it's time to talk about, or take questions, I should say, from the audience. And the one thing that was brought up here, or one of the couple of things that were brought up here is no mention of Joe Flacco taking the team down the field at the end of the game and having the center roll the ball back to him, which led him to throw an errant pass to Torrey Smith, who was wide open. And, well, we hadn't gotten there yet, but that is a fair point to be made that even though the Ravens go up 10-0 and they looked really good, then you've got the delay, and then the Ravens didn't look so good other than being able to run the ball. They were 8 of 18 on third down. But, Tom, they did respond at the end when they needed to. I would want to go back to a play before that third down play, though. But it's fair, that was an awful snap, although given the field conditions, I'm surprised it hadn't happened earlier. But I thought personally, though, even despite that, I thought Joe had enough time to gather and still get the ball to Torrey Smith. So I'll blame Gronkowski to an extent, but I still thought Flacco had a chance to make a play there.
I thought he did, but the other side is if you risk a sack in that situation, the game is over.
Fair enough.
By rushing it, worst case scenario, it was going to be incomplete and you give yourself a chance in overtime. Gronkowski's got to know the conditions are not great and be able to make that play. As far as the person who wrote the note about that, yeah, absolutely. Think back to the AFC Championship game in the Billy Cundiff year. Joe Flacco drove the team down the field, and if Lee Evans catches the ball, it's game over. If the snap isn't bad in this game, it's game over. So you can't fault Joe Flacco for doing that. It's just that, like I said, it's a team sport. Unfortunately, your teammates have got to make the plays sometimes.
Well, there was a divisional round playoff game against the Steelers in Pittsburgh where the Ravens turned over the ball 3 times in the second half, and one of those was Matt Burke snapping the ball early to Joe Flacco, and we lost the ball. And that was one of the, again, 3 turnovers that hurt us in that loss to the Steelers after having a lead in that one.
That was a great game, wasn't it? I go back to that. Boy, that was living in the past. I know it's a new year, but take me back. Yeah, take me back to yesteryear.
Now, Mike, I'll agree with you on that point. I mean, we picked the ball up. He was looking at the guy in the left-hand corner. I mean, that was the guy he was focusing on. And then he came back to Torrey Smith. And like you're saying, if he had picked the ball up and just scanned or even, zeroed in on Torrey early and made, a jump pass, which would look good right there, in the mud. That would have been smooth. But, Torrey was open if he had seen him. Unfortunately, he was locked on to the receiver who's in the left-hand corner of the end zone.
Yeah, and I think, but to Tom's point, though, if he takes a sack there, game over. Yeah, I think they were out of timeouts at that point in the game. But I want to go back to the play before, and I know RussellStreetReport.com had an article on this, but in that drive, okay, they're down to 1st and 5 at the Chicago 5. They give the ball to Ray Rice off the right guard. He gains 3 yards down to the Chicago 2. But on 2nd 2 at the Chicago 2-yard line there, okay, it was clear that Chicago was stacked up to stop the run, and we had man-to-man coverage on the outside. That should have been a play that was checked to a pass and not to a run there, Tom. Bottom line, and if Joe has the handcuffs off. Hey, there's no blaming Cam Cameron anymore. This is Jim Caldwell's offense, and supposedly he's given Joe more room to be able to operate the offense, or so we're told. Okay, there's no way he should have let that play to Ray Rice be run into the teeth of a defense that was waiting for that run.
I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, we feel like 49er fans. We're questioning what happened after the Super Bowl, the play calling. That's exactly it. You've got to change the call when you see a defense is a particular way. And what's funny is John Harbaugh is the first guy to call a timeout to check and see what the defense is doing when he can. When the Ravens are on defense, another team comes out in a critical situation, he'll call timeout. And I understand we were in a tough situation, there were timeouts, but Joe's got to know to check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, a wasted opportunity there, because I thought we had a play that Torrey Smith or whoever he throws it to, we had a chance there, and it didn't
Who
happen.
who is your go-to guy in that situation?
No, I would say it would have to be Torrey.
Torrey.
Yeah.
That's
It's Torrey, but unfortunately Torrey's got one touchdown for the year, so we still really haven't replaced Anquan Bold or Pitta. But that's the one play on that drive where, you got it as the quarterback and it's on the line. You got to come up and say, there's no way a run's going to be successful here, and you've got to be able to check out of that.
Yeah, that was a play that I think is definitely worth taking a look at. Another question from the audience, and actually we've got some good news recording to report about this player. That is, will Dennis Pitta have any effect on the offense going forward? Well, now we do this show on Wednesdays, folks. He was at practice today, and so that's for the first time in a long time, and he had a heck of an injury that he took in training camp, Tom. The fact that Dennis Pitta is back practicing, let's hope that that's a sign of good things to come, and we'll see. I think the Ravens now have 3 weeks to decide whether they put him on the active roster, they put him on injured reserve, which would effectively end his season.
Yeah, they have to make a decision within 3 weeks. As my piece today said, will Dennis Pitta be a star, or will he be a rusty bike? I mean, that's really the question, and I think it's going to be somewhere kind of in between. Sure. Because Pitta, there's no way in heck he's going to be able to come back to full speed and be the guy that you expect he's going to be. He's going to drop some balls. He's going to miss some blocks. He's going to make some mistakes. And it's probably going to take a couple of games to get him back to where at least he's really helping the team, I would think.
Yeah. Well, we were talking off air, Bucksy, about having that go-to guy and having that reliable guy. I guess Heath Miller would be that guy for the Steelers, but I know at times he's been hurt. But that's key to a quarterback, and that was one of Joe's safety blankets last year in addition to Bolden. And they both have been out. Obviously, Bolden's with San Francisco.
Well, you're saying you have 3 games to make a decision, but realistically, that's 15 days. He's got 2 weeks to get, where he can make a difference. And that decision, it's going to be a tough decision. You hope, as a Ravens fan, he would be able to come in and contribute, but that's a lot to ask for.
Sure. Well, and to that point, Steve, we'll get your thoughts on Dennis Pitta, but also, do we have enough there? Let's assume the run game gets better. We're not probably going to rush for 170 yards, a game going forward here. But assuming the run game does get better, do we have enough there at wide receiver now to be able to get us into the playoffs? And then from there, who knows? Anything can happen. Do you think that's the case or not?
I think we do, and I think we've been saying I was more excited about Tannen Doss getting drafted than I was Torrey Smith. Look at him coming out of college and what he did in Indiana. But you've given those guys the chance, and they just haven't. In a nutshell, no. We need Pitta to come back. And, I take the opposite side of this, where I think he is going to be a shiny, brand new bike where, he's not going to be beaten down by the season. At 10 games in the season, these guys are starting to get beat up and they're starting to have nags. Granted, he's not going to have the timing that he had, since he didn't have training camp or any of that. But he's going to be fresh because he hadn't had that. He's going to, feel a little bit of the rust from being away from football. But, I look at it as like, getting a new star back with no wear and tear on him. He's going to come out fresh and he's going to be excited to go.
Look, Dallas Clark made a heck of a 4th down catch on that drive that ended up tying the game and taking it to overtime. That was big, but we know Dallas Clark is not the same receiver, although he did have over 40 catches last year for Tampa Bay. But that said, he can't get off of press coverage, and he's not Dennis Pitta. But Tom, let me ask you this, though, with the whole situation. My concern with Dennis Pitta, let's go back to last year. It's not the same injury, but Terrell Suggs was out for, maybe over half the season last year, about that. He came back. That's great. He came back. He played for the team, and he deserved to be out there. But folks, he had no pass rush ability. He was a shell of himself My concern is, yeah, that's great. He's healthy. He's out there. I'm going to be a little bit of a skeptic and say I don't think he's going to make the impact this year with that kind of injury and this far into the season that we would like him to.
Yeah, I think he's going to be rusty. I really do. I think all those who were hoping Dennis Pitta is going to save the Ravens season, it's just not going to happen. He's going to make an impact to some extent because Joe has such a familiarity with him. Those guys, it's second nature. He'll throw the ball, and Dennis Pitta will know where it is, and he'll be expecting it. Sort of the way Bolden was with him last year. That play in the Super Bowl when he throws the ball up in the air, and it seemed to be to nobody, and somehow Bolden catches it. That's the type of familiarity he has with Dennis Pitta.
Is he going to lose a step? Is he going to be up to speed? You're talking about being rusty, but he's not at game speed. So we'll see what happens.
With that hip, that's huge. Yeah.
But if you can make 2 8-yard catches on third down, that makes a major difference, and that's what this team doesn't have right now. He can go into a soft zone, turn around, sit down, and no matter if he's triple covered, he can come up with the ball, and they don't have that player that can do that right now.
No. Well, we'll have to see. I mean, that's it. And I go back to saying about do we have enough at wide receiver? In terms of the run game, though, too, that's still an if. Yeah, they did a great job against the 31st ranked rush defense. It's going to get a lot tougher from here. Right. And as we talk in the next segment with the Jets, it's going to get a lot tougher from here by 30-some spots. So that's the thing to look at. Hey, I wanted to just briefly touch on special teams because we're under 60 seconds for the segment. But kudos to Justin Tucker. Kicks a big field goal to put the Ravens up 10-0 early in that game. The wind swirling all around. You've got storms coming. Not an easy place to kick there at Soldier Field. But he goes 2 of 2 as long the 52-yarder in that one. 2 of 2 extra points. He had that little struggle early in the year where I think he missed 3 in a row. But he's bounced back, and, boy, he's done an excellent job to help the team out.
And Sam Cook, on that extra point where he fielded that snap, and that was a way high snap. Yeah. Without that snap, then you don't have the option of kicking the field goal for the tie.
Yeah, you're certainly right on that.
For all the struggles Sam Cook has had this year, and he's really not had a good year.
No.
His game against Chicago was much better, and they really needed him. So it's a shame they couldn't win with all those things working in their benefit.
More to come. It's the Ravens Wrap Show on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio 93.5 The Beach.
In April 1959, Art Wall won the Masters, edging out Carey Middlecoff and Arnold Palmer by finishing birdie, 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 par birdie. 1 month later, Ocean City Golf Club celebrated the opening of their first 18 holes. That course has been transformed now into one of the most scenic golf layouts on the East Coast. Come experience 36 of the most beautiful and challenging holes you'll find anywhere. Ocean City Golf Club in Ocean City, Maryland.
Welcome to the Comfort Inn Gold Coast. Conveniently located just 1 block from the beach and adjacent to shopping at the Gold Coast Mall and the movie theater. Newly renovated and open year-round with a marvelous bayfront view. Visit us on the web at comfortgoldcoast.com and see our hot deals and great golf packages, or simply call our direct reservation line to plan your stay.